Hey kids, this is Aaron from the podcast that wouldn't die, and Kevin and I use Zencastr. You think you're better than us, that you're using something else? You're wrong. Zencastr's the place to be. Who are you to deny it?
It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code DIEHARD and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time for you to share your story.
Only a fool will give up a chance for a 30% discount.
Captain Stelmani, Homicide Squad. The book deals with a murder committed with an old-fashioned open razor.
Wish I'd never written that book.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hello.
This week, we're going back to Italy. Going back to Italy to discuss the Italian giallo classic, Tenebrae, starring Anthony Franciosa, John Saxon, and Daria Nicolodi. So, as you know, each week on the podcast that wouldn't die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genres with a comedic twist. Aaron, what's the latest with you?
Well, welcome to the New World Order. Here we are.
We're not talking about this.
So I'm just going to surround myself in horror movies and just, not making any promises. I'm not moving anywhere. I'm just expanding my dating pool outside of the U.S. That's all.
Bulgaria?
Bulgaria. That's what I want.
100%.
I want some Eastern Bloc countries. Perfect.
What is it?
Anyway.
Mom shared something with me where it's like Sardinia is like giving away plots of land for like a nickel or something if you come and like build on it. I don't know. No?
All these. Let me tell you where they're not giving it away. They're not giving it away in Florence. They're not giving it away in Rome. They're
Fair.
not giving it anywhere with a decent amount of time to the ocean. They're giving it away in old towns with no jobs and no industry that are basically just dying. Like their young people have left. So there's 1,000 TikTokers on that with, if it's $1 home, you're putting 200,000 into it because it's just shack.
Oh, of course. Yeah, there's no free
requirements. You can't fix it up and sell it. There's a lot of requirements, but I mean, I've seen it basically on like House Hunters International, where they just buy the shanty shack and they have to find someone who knows because everything's different here. Real estate's different there. Finding builders. How are you going to talk to your contractor in your remote village? Do you think they speak English in your remote village? No, they do not.
That's fair. These are all important questions. Does your house have plumbing, electricity? There ain't no damn Wi-Fi. That's for damn show.
I mean, the ones I saw, they're not beautiful. It's you walk into the kitchen. There's also, that's where the full bathroom is, right off of the kitchen. I mean, in Europe, it's very common when you move, you take your kitchen with you. You unbolt everything and it goes. So, I mean, these are very small places, but,
and there's no Sears up on the hill. They deliver.
I don't know. Exactly. I remember sitting in Italy watching the ads on TV while I'm having my breakfast. I was like, it can't all be handmade custom furniture for $10,000 or IKEA. I just didn't see, like the middleman. Like there's all these like Ashley's, which is not that much better than IKEA, but you know what I'm saying.
I do.
I didn't see a lot of that.
Fair. This is hilarious stuff, by the way, that we're discussing.
So much fun.
Much fun.
Not saying, would I live in Italy? Well, maybe if I was rich, but I'm not going to be poor in a foreign country. They don't
No.
make shoes size 11. Let me just put that out to you. Thank you, Prada. Thank you, Gucci. You're my size 11 high heels,
No, you'd have to learn
bastard.
how to like juggle or do tricks or sing a
Just a
song with a
circus freak.
banjo.
That's
Or
right.
just a freak, yeah, walking the streets with a can. Right. That's how we do it.
Walking around like those ladies who ask you for money with a tin can, and when you don't give it to you, oh shit, my earbuds are going out. And they tap you with their fingers and put a curse on you.
They give you the Malork. They give you the Malork.
Malork.
You better
And
give
there's no coming back from the Malork.
There's a scene
Unless
in
you're
this movie.
Irish, and then you get the Malark.
What if totally? There's a scene in this movie where the daughter goes to her dad and says, "Can I have 10,000 lira? If your shit is so worthless that you have to start getting into the thousands, maybe just junk that whole monetary system." Right?
That's old days. I remember being in college and I was doing a semester abroad. That's the old days when you literally had to, every country you went, you had to go to the American Express office to exchange whatever money you had into the new money, and then they wouldn't take change. So
Well, I guess they have
those are old days.
euros
They're on
there or
the
whatever.
euro now.
I
They're
see.
on the euro, where
So-
1,000 euros is worth something.
That's lovely, Aaron. Why don't you give us your 30-second synopsis of Tenebrae?
Tenebrae, which means darkness, is all about this author coming to Rome. He's a mystery writer. And suddenly people are dying left and right. And like they're stuffing bits of the book into people's mouths and such. And of course, because this is Argento, the police don't solve the cases. Random passerbyers or the victims or other people
Or no
solve
one.
these cases. Or no one, because we're still not really sure what happens. So mysteriously, they kind of solve the case, but then someone decides that it's not time for it to be over because I'm really digging what's happening here. I'm just going to keep rocking and rolling. And strangely enough, in this case, the police walk in.
Just the right time.
What were the odds that they were actually going to catch the right person?
But then
Shocking.
they're dead. So then it just ends with Daria Nicolodi screaming in the rain, and that's
There you
that's
go.
it.
I hear, you know what? I hear laughter in the rain. Daria hears screaming in the rain.
Neil Sedaka.
She does. It's
I
true.
hear laughter in the rain. Anyway,
Walking hand in hand with the one I love.
I mean, the ultimate spoiler alert is they did that bullshit Agatha Christie thing where there's more than one killer. The more than one killer, that's a cheat. There are certain rules.
That is a cheat.
All mystery movies, all mystery novels should adhere to a simple rule of there's one killer. There's one killer. It can't, and it has to be somebody we've met earlier in the movie. It can't be, I pull off your mask and it's somebody we've never seen before. That's BS.
You're like, who the hell are you? That's how I want it to end. Who the F are you? What are you doing here?
Right. I'm just
I've
a
never
serial
seen
killer.
you before in my life.
100%.
Yeah.
So that's strike one. It has to be somebody we've met earlier in the movie. Number two is one goddamn killer. You can't switch the killers in midstream. I think that's BS. I don't appreciate it. So there you have it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. We're just
Please.
going to cut right to the penultimate moment, where we see a guy in his groovy condo.
Yes.
And he's backing up, and you hear someone say, "I did it. I killed everyone."
Correct. With a crazy voice.
With a crazy voice.
It was me all along.
And then later on, in a flashback, you see the person getting killed saying those words, wherein before you did not see that.
Well,
what the hell was that?
Yes. I wonder if, because they don't have a close up on the person getting killed. It's kind of distant. So is it possible the person kind of said it in a non-demonstrative way?
I say no, Because you see his face and you hear the voice and you don't see that mouth a flapping.
Okay, let's
You
pause
mean
on
like,
this.
is he a ventriloquist? Is that what you're asking me?
It's that Anthony Hopkins ventriloquist movie from the 70s, which
Am
we
I
also have to do.
wrong, or was I on TikTok for that moment? Am I
No.
wrong? Did you see him say those words?
Well, number one, I've seen this before. So I knew who the killer was, but I didn't realize there were two killers. Like, I knew who the final reveal was.
Right.
So watching it, and I'd seen it ages ago, watching it, when you hear the crazy voice, you're right, Aaron. You think the person coming in with the hatchet is the one saying it. And it isn't
Right.
until the teenage Johnny is driving back going, wait a second. Now I remember. It was the guy who took the hatchet to the forehead. He's the one who said the shit. So
we're just claiming this is an unreliable narrator situation. Like, I had a stroke and I reversed where the speaking came from. Like, he hallucinated it.
I think we're dealing with an unreliable filmmaker, if I'm being honest. I think that's what it comes down to. Now, Aaron, did you just stumble upon Tenebrae? You were watching Girl with the Crystal Plumage or whatever, and it just started and you just kept watching, or what?
Well, it was Tubi, of course.
Yes,
because
of course.
the land of all Giallo,
100%.
and I think we had talked about it, so I had
Yep.
nothing to do, so I'm like, let it ride.
I saw this, I want to say, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, actually, maybe 4 years ago now that I'm thinking about it. Joe Bob had it on. And I remember
Shocking.
watching, I know, shocking. And I dug it. I remember watching it going, not too bad. Not too bad at
shabby.
all. Right. It's not deep red, but it gets the job done, I think.
No, I think Tubi now is advertising their Giallo selection.
I wasn't always a Giallo fan, mainly because I was unfamiliar with it in general as a genre. But since we've been doing this and we've been picking through the Giallo collection, now granted, it's 99.9% Argento. So who the hell? I'm sure there's some bullshit.
I mean, we're completely ignorant, and nor have we bothered to do any research. So I'm sure there are other people out there.
There are. Oh, absolutely.
But we are just on the Argento train, all aboard. Whoop, whoop.
Woo. Now, we did do a Bay of Blood, or Twitch of the Death Nerve, as it's also called, which was not Argento.
Can we buy a shirt for that? I need that for
100%. We need that. No, I mean, just to wear around town. There's nothing I like
just to
better.
wear around town.
When I wear a T-shirt.
Ask me about Twitch of the Death Nerve.
Exactly. Because it's like, if you know, you want those kind of knowing glances and subtle nods when they see your shirt. Like, they know.
Mm-hmm.
They know what we're doing.
Agreed.
But that wasn't Argento. That was Mario Bava, who was arguably like the godfather of Italian horror from like the 60s and on. So,
dude, we're on our way to a spin-off podcast.
Nonstop Giallo.
It's like two Americans yakking about Giallo.
I don't know what the market is for that, if I'm being honest. But I'm
the market is once again you and me.
Because Fulci, we talk about Fulci. Fulci doesn't. He did some Giallo. Now, generally, we don't talk about Fulci Giallo. We talk about zombies eating brains and things.
His orgy of gore.
Totally. Which there was quite a bit of splatter in this film, if we're being honest.
I have, at least so far in our wading through Giallo, I have not started vomiting in the middle. So there's that.
There were a couple scenes in Cat o' Nine Tails where people were getting strangled, where they're like spitting up and drooling, and that stuff I did not appreciate. But this movie, even when the woman gets her arm lops off and she literally sprays the wall with her.
That was so beautiful. That was so ridiculous. It was just like an ocean.
100%. Now, we're obviously jumping right in. I have to ask, did it seem that Italy, and maybe if this is the way Italy is, I need to go tomorrow, because it's nonstop kind of buxom brunettes, just a cavalcade of buxom brunettes that it was hard for me to distinguish. Is this Tilda, the newspaper reporter, or her lesbian lover, or your ex-girlfriend, or, the hooker walking down the street? They all look like they were twins or triplets,
I will
quadruplets.
just tell you, my experience is of all the women I saw, thin, great legs. You always knew they were a local because they were dressed up and not walking around in a maxi skirt and flip flops with their selfie sticks.
Okay.
Great legs, though, because they're walking. I don't understand how people can walk quickly on cobblestone in high heels.
Right. That's why their legs are so great. 6-inch Louis Vuittons, walking up and down.
Tits, it seemed like regular. I think people just expect everybody look like Gina Lola Brigida. Tits aplenty.
Was that her James Bond nickname?
That is an actress.
Interesting. Why don't we jump right in, Aaron? Go ahead and take it. What you got? Any notes at all?
Dude, I translated the book. So the book at the store said the greatest, the greatest film of the year, if not the decade, Tenebrae.
Peter Neal, Anthony Franciosa, who he was kind of a mid-range star of like the 50s and 60s, if I'm remembering this correctly. He was in stuff. There's talk of him getting into a fist fight with James Garner, because like in reality,
I would like to see that.
They were in a movie together.
Where was YouTube then? I could be pulling that up.
Well, Anthony Franciosa notoriously has like a temper, like a crazy temper. So he'd constantly get into fights with people. He'd get fired from things.
And constantly getting divorced. I believe he was married like 4 or 5 times.
Right. He's kind of a loose cannon, to say the least. Although he was great in this. I liked him. I liked him a lot. So, and then of course our hero, John Saxon, who was in this as his crazy agent with the hat. I like the hat. They kept talking about his hat. He's like, doesn't your hat fall off? And he goes, he's like, no, see, it stays on my head.
Okay, so the second time I watched that, because when he gets killed, in fact, his hat flies off. So I'm like, is this some crazy up foreshadowing? And in fact, is the man who asks him about the hat the one who kills him? And it is not. But let me tell you, it did fly off when you get killed, for sure.
That's the kiss of death, basically. The crazy. Well, and that's
do men come to you when you're wearing a hat and ask you about your
look,
hat?
It stays on. No, it's if you have some sort of a seizure, yes, your hat will fly off, and probably it should, if I'm being honest. Good Lord. For safety reasons. Now let me ask you this: did you notice Anthony Franciosa is Peter Neal? Excuse me. The famous novelist Peter Neal is catching a flight from New York to Rome ostensibly. Did you hear the intercom system say Palm Springs?
I didn't know we can fly directly in the 70s from New York to Palm Springs. Passengers to Palm Springs. I was like, he must be in LA. I was like, oh, that was beautiful. I'm like, ooh, gotta write that down.
Faithful listeners, we are from Palm Springs, California originally. So whenever they mention Palm Springs, even in passing, we get a little
we
get
very excited about that.
100%.
So now, what's the deal with just leaving your luggage and wandering off? As far as I know, since the dawn of time, one doesn't do that. Pardon me, I have the hiccups.
Well, we're supposed to think that it's a big setup. That his angry ex-girlfriend and her nameless, faceless accomplice are basically like following him in the airport. And then they call for him and say, hey, go to the white courtesy phone. So he leaves his luggage, just drops it where he stands, which they tell you do not do that. He takes the call, has an argument with her, goes back, and now the accomplice has like befouled his luggage or something, which makes no sense.
Cut it all up, Yeah, ripped it to shreds. And then there's this whole other plot about, so there's a murderer going on. Meanwhile, you have this woman who seems to be having an affair with John Saxon.
That's his ex-girlfriend.
It's his ex-girlfriend, right? Because you never really see them together.
She's the one. Okay, so his ex-girlfriend Jane, and we're supposed to think that he's kind of dumped her. And she's like the jilted lover going, and she does. She thrashes his clothes. Your
best friend. Yeah.
Right. Well, no, I don't know if it's that. She destroys his clothes, but then later it's like clearly they've been having an affair, like Jane and his literary agent, and it's like literally like, well, yes, honey, we'll tell him soon. We'll break it to him gently. So it makes
she's like, I don't want you to break it to him gently. I want you to kick the door in and rub me in his face. Say, ha ha ha.
That's what was confusing. So you think she flies to Rome to seduce the literary agent? I got the sense they had been like together for a while.
So here's the hook, and we're gonna spoiler alert. So why did he kill his ex-girlfriend?
Why did he kill half the people? None of it makes any genie sense. Well, because that's the problem. There's two different killers.
Why is she hiding? I mean, this is his literary agent, so it's possible they don't want to tell him because he's going to get fired or something.
Well, she's hiding ostensibly because they're carrying on with the literary agent. So maybe it's not as.
Why does she have to hide if they're not even together? It's not like he's walking around crying over her.
No, you got the sense he was like, hit the bricks. Because she called him and he's like, look, I'm not talking to you anymore. Like, I'll just hang up on you. We're done talking.
Yeah. So what's the point?
It's a red
Why
herring.
hide?
Right.
Yeah. Why hide? And then why'd you kill her? And her lover.
Right. So he arrives in Rome for, to basically publicize his new novel, Tenebrae. And again, this is like Suspiria, where they never tell you what the word means in Italian. You have to kind of Google it or something.
I know. I had to Google it. There we go.
Darkness. So he's there promoting his latest novel. He's very successful. But someone keeps calling and kind of crank calling him. And you think it's the murderer. And I guess it is the murderer. But they suspect that it's Jane, the girlfriend, because they keep seeing her kind of running off down the road. And is that her out the window? Lay it on me.
She's not cranking. She's just sneaking around.
Right.
And it's the killer.
The killer's the crank caller.
Going on simultaneously.
Correct.
She's being a weirdo ding dong.
Yes.
And there's no reason. Is she the one who was shoplifting at the store? No.
That's a different random
person.
A random
person.
A random buxom brunette who's stealing
chased by a hobo and then is killed by the killer.
Oh, you forget the scene where the store detective drags her into his office and she says, hey, how about I come by your house later and I give you a little rub and tug if you forget about this. He's like, okay, what's your address? Like, not a moment's hesitation, not like, well, I don't know about. He's like, shit. That's how they do things in Italy. In Italy,
it's a different culture.
It's a different,
we learn all of this from Dario Argento. He's teaching us about the culture.
Absolutely. So
you could say this is the 70s, right? Is it 70s or 80s?
This is like 82 or something.
It was a different time.
It was a different, clearly. Well, I don't know, because then promptly she's killed by somebody who tears, because she's stealing his latest novel, because it's a hardcover and they're expensive, I guess is what we're supposed to do.
Because that's where I go shopping, at the airport.
Correct.
Or that's by shoplifting. But she was working with the girlfriend, right? Weren't they in tandem or something? Wasn't there a wink and a nod or something?
Unless I'm crazy.
Jesus Christ.
I don't think the friend ever got on the plane, right? Because that was back in New York or LA or whatever the hell, with the girlfriend and the.
But that looked like the girlfriend.
Because they all look the goddamn same. They all have dark hair.
So racist.
Well, I did not say all Italians
How
look the
dare
same.
you, sir?
Yeah, I know.
Just Italian women. I got
Just
it. I
Italian women.
understood. There you
Um,
go.
so,
Oh
but that's the thing.
Lord.
So the eventual killer is revealed that he's dealing with some stuff. So he feels that Peter Neal is like the purveyor of like, I don't know, low morals or
Right.
like whatever the hell it is. So he's killing people around him, seemingly for no reason, just because he's nuts. I guess is what we're supposed to think.
But he's like stuffs bits of the book.
Right. The book is
Like it's
bad.
directly related. This happens a lot with these successful horror, oh, I got the idea from
Right.
fill in the blank book.
Right. So he's out like murdering all these people around him and slipping notes under his door with kind of like, cutouts from newspapers.
Right. We're
Um
on our way to get you. You're next. I feel like you would have gone there first. Or were we
right.
expecting the author to track you down? Like Stephen King is going to hunt me down and kick in my door if I start pranking him and murdering
Well,
his friends.
again, no one figures out that this dude is the killer until he himself is murdered by a
Yeah.
faceless assailant. And then it's like, oh shit.
Coincidentally, with a eyewitness with a
Well,
bad memory.
which makes no goddamn sense. The one chick whose dad is like the manager of the hotel is running down the street and is chased by a dog into some random dude's yard who happens to be the killer. She stumbles upon the killer's lair, finds all this evidence. She's like shoving pictures of like the murders in her pocket. And then of course she walks in there and the murderer's like, what the F? Chases
Yeah.
her. And she's like throwing the evidence all over the street. I give up. She gets murdered. Smash cut to the gardener. I guess the murderer's gardener is like mowing the lawn, and there's still like pictures of murder all over the place, and like finds the body. And he's like, I don't
He's
know if he
just
calls
like
the cops.
grinding it up with the mower, just grinding it up
It
as he
was like
goes. I thought he was
sinister.
going
I
to
thought,
mow right over her.
well, he had no problem running the mower right over the evidence. I mean, there's like pictures getting chopped into.
He's
Who the
like,
hell
this shit
knows?
happens every day. This is just the typical state of affairs.
This shit happens every day. Now there's a scene earlier in the movie where he's meeting with the local press, talking about his book, and this girl, who I guess he's like a friend of her family or something. It was very strange, but she's also like the top literary reporter of the latest lesbian rag or something. I don't know what the issue was, but she was very much like, what's up? You are misogynist. Your work is misogynist. It's sexist. It's blah, 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 blah,
It
blah.
was so fucking random because he's like, I've known you for years. What the hell's going on here?
It
He's like,
was.
what?
He took it in stride. He's like, what? What do you mean? That's weird. I've never thought of it. Evidently, that is, he's basically the Argento surrogate in that movie, in that moment, where people have kind of cast that upon him, that the women are, there to be victims, they're there to be
That's
like
deep,
their
bro.
boob
That's
out.
deep. You're
That's
right.
what they
You're
say.
right.
That's what they say. And then, of course, she's murdered not long later. By her murder makes no sense either. I guess.
Does this mean did Dario perhaps murder Daria right after this? Is he just laid it all out? Were they divorced quickly after this movie?
They were never married. Never
Ooh.
married. And this movie was, I think, like the end of their relationship. I think she was supposed to play.
He's laying it right out on the table. This is some
Yes.
Woody Allen shit.
It was. Now, she was supposed to play a different role, like a smaller role. And the American actress they'd hired dropped out at the last minute. So she had to step in. Frankly, this is the Daria Nicolodi role. In every one of his movies, of these giallos, she plays, the one very close to the victim or the person being pursued or whatever, the protagonist.
Yes.
So it's
I
interesting.
think it would have helped us understand if we knew anything from the book. I mean, what in the
Which we
book
don't.
was so misogynistic? Is it just the fact that, I mean, it's assumed that it's guys killing women,
Right.
as it always is.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's like you're supposed to take from it that this book, Tenebrae, is like all the other Argento Giallo type movies, where it's
Right.
like there's a nameless, faceless killer, generally a guy, but let's be honest, we saw Deep Red. Killer,
Deep
not a
Red,
guy.
not always a guy.
Not always a guy, but you're right. It's
But
like
they will
good.
have dark gloves on no matter what the sex is. That's a
100%.
guarantee.
Leather glove, right? They're not putting like rubber gloves on. They're always like
No.
kind of fashionable Italian
They're
black
going
leather.
full OJ. Full
Yeah.
OJ.
If the glove don't fit, you must have quit.
Must have quit. Oh, God.
But so when the killer is killed with a hatchet, I think the first time I saw it, I immediately knew who the killer was, like the other killer. Did you figure out who the killer was before the grand reveal?
No.
Okay.
I had no idea what the melee was going on at the end. I was like, what? What's happening here? Because there's a lot of women getting their arms chopped off in this one.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Well, and I think for most, for most of the movie, it's revealed it's like the kind of effeminate literary reporter who has his own half-hour TV show who's been murdering the people. And eventually they sneak to the house, Anthony Franciosa and his little manservant Johnny, and Johnny's the one who sees the murder.
We like to say sex dwarf.
Well, and it's Johnny, but it's Gianni. It's Johnny. He's Italian.
I gotta tell you, this is an Italian film, friend. Although he was not. Or was he?
I think he was. Anyway. I think Anthony Franciosa is Italian, and John Saxon. Yes. That's not his real name. He's also Italian. They're all like Italian Americans. They're like from Brooklyn or something. But anyway, so we see that dude get killed, and you hear the little crazy voice say, "I did it all along," or something along those lines.
They want you to believe it's a woman with this weird voice.
Correct. And you don't see who's swinging the hatchet, but it seems as though the use of the hatchet is kind of a newish thing, right? Other people were getting stabbed with knives or getting garroted with, strangled, and it was a straight razor. That's what it was. For most of the movie, it was a typical straight razor murderer.
I think that if they just, contacted Amazon and find out who's ordering all these straight razors and just kicking their doors, there'll be a lot less murderers.
I agree. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Who the hell has all these straight razors in the 80s?
Did it seem like there was a ridiculous amount of kind of nudity just kind of popping up? Maybe ridiculous is overstating it, but it was like a lot more than I was anticipating. Like there was the lesbian lover who was wearing like a sheet or something the entire time. Even when she was at the bar.
I thought that was her sister.
That was not her sister.
I was like, what a fucked up roommate. I'm like, I'm not getting a roommate if she's just walking around the house soaking wet with like a sheet and always one tit hanging out. Even when they were at the freaking nightclub, I still saw areola popping out of the top of her outfit.
You saw full nipple, even at the pizza parlor. It was like a Shakey's or something, where she was picking up.
But it's the same breast,
yes.
So that's the one she's proud of. That's her go-to boob.
That's the good one. Yes.
The other one's like an old raisin.
It's like the substance, right? Well, that's the thing. So Tilda, the literary reporter, has a rocky relationship with her girlfriend, and the girlfriend's like, look, you know how I do. I'm going to pick up this random dude over here and I'm going to bring him home. Give me an hour. Don't give me any attitude about it. And then, it'll be fine. And it is not fine because the murderer comes to their house.
That's what seemingly. I was like, they killed both of them. Usually they only kill the slutty girl, but now they're killing all the lesbians.
Well, they waited till the one chick had her shirt basically off, like it was over her head,
Of course.
and then it was slash slash. She's dead, and her friend is listening to like loud rock music, so she doesn't hear. So she comes full boob out, like it's literally the headlight. She's sweeping the room, and then she gets murdered. So it's a cavalcade of bizarro murders.
It's a cavalcade of boobs and murder.
Boobs
Maybe
and
he is a
murders.
misogynist, that crazy lady, but then we won't be able to ask her any questions.
So R.I.P. We kept getting these bizarro flashbacks where it was like in the Cape Cod or something, on the dunes, like there's this like hot chickie and like 3 or 4 young guys kind of approaching
I think
her.
that was still supposed to be Italy. I don't know if they. It was supposed to be Cape. They flew the Italians to Cape Cod for this situation.
They filmed it in Italy, but it was supposed to be Rhode Island. Was the reveal, because we don't know what the connection is till later. But it seemed like bizarre, like it was going to be some kind of bizarre orgy right on the beach. And one dude, I guess, is left out of the fun.
So apparently Italians believe that in America, at least in New England, and quite frankly, maybe they do. This is Kennebunkport. This could be the Kennedys. We don't know. You have everyone in like linen wandering through the dunes, ready for an orgy.
Yes.
With some strangely tripped out or drugged or Manson-like lady. And this dude calls her a slut, so they beat the shit out of it.
I couldn't tell. So did he? I thought he wanted in on the action, and she kind of gave him the no. I've already got 3 dudes. 4 is pushing it.
Yeah, this isn't a train, brother.
So in any case, he smacks her, and she basically says, "Hey, 3 dudes, if you want any of this, you better go handle it." So they grab him.
She was in there wailing away, which one of the most bizarre scenes, because everyone knows you wear high heels in a sand dune, because that makes sense.
That's
standard. She staggers over in her stilettos as she's sinking deep into the sand, and also goes around kicking the crap out of it. Reminded me a little bit of Boogie Nights at the end with the roller skates.
Absolutely, she was roller.
Also
girl.
deserved. Yeah, roller girl kicking ass.
So here's the question. So this is supposed to be the seed of his bizarreness. The author now. It's revealed this is the author's childhood. So my question to you is, are we supposed to think, because I guess he murdered her in the past. We see a scene where he comes up and stabs her and kills her in the past.
And she has not aged, so clearly it was 10 minutes later.
10 minutes later.
Exactly the same, wearing the exact same dress, and then he steals her shoe.
So he is still, we have to think he's still committing murders from time to time, right? Because he's not the murderer for 3/4 of the movie.
That.
Right.
We find out he was a suspect for that.
Yes, he was a suspect, but was acquitted. But we know he's the murderer. Correct.
But murder once doesn't mean you murder twice. So, and we don't have any other evidence for that.
Okay, fair.
You think he's writing about himself?
I don't know. That's the question, because again, he's not the murderer for 3/4 of the movie.
Exactly. No, he is. Okay, well, the reason he murders is totally unclear. He wanted to kill his ex-girlfriend for reasons unknown to the world.
I think you're right. You're right about that, because it's like it goes from here's this weird serial killer who's killing people who like the book or who are living what he would think to be like a deviant lifestyle or whatever. That's what we're supposed to think about that.
That's what the serial killer was doing.
Correct. So Anthony Franciosa, who we don't see, picks up a hatchet and murders that dude. Takes the hatchet to his forehead, but then claims, somebody bonked me on the head. So he brought some like fake blood and squirted himself on the head.
There was chunks of brain on that rock. If you go to that scene, it's like cottage cheese and blood. I was like, How
So he was
hard
really
they hit you,
selling it.
brother?
He was really.
He was like, not quite juicy enough. Let's take a couple more whacks at that.
Absolutely. So then, when that dude is dead, there's like 5 more murders in this movie that he's all responsible for.
Right.
And it seems to me he murders Johnny because Johnny seemingly is starting to think about putting some things together because he was there when the dude took the hatchet to the forehead. But
That
which is
is
kind
correct.
of there's a crazy scene in retrospect where Johnny is so upset about what he's seen that he almost gets into a car accident. And they cut to Anthony Franciosa's face, and he's kind of like, whoa, doing kind of a comedic mugging like he's Bill Cosby or somebody. But he kills that dude 5 minutes later. He murders young Johnny by strangling him to death. So
his murders are all premeditated. He knew
yes.
he figured out who the dude was, and
Yes.
and this is why it's premeditated because he didn't call the cops. He killed him and just kind
Right.
of got rid of the body and thought, okay, so now that's step 1. Now I can pin everything else on this.
Correct.
But
he tries to solve the mystery.
Murder seems exhausting and difficult.
It seems unnecessary. Like the fact,
And it's unnecessary. But even if you wanted to murder someone, it seems like a lot of work.
it does. Well, then
And
it's
the
not like
odds are that you're going to get killed are pretty high too.
he doesn't like hide any of the bodies. He just leaves the shit where they lay because he figures this is Italy. They ain't solving shit. Is that basically his attitude?
Just close the doors and lock it up. But I mean, even if you're wielding the axe, there's a good chance you slip or fall. I mean, it just sounds like a terrible idea.
Well, did he kill the killer because he was fucking with him? He was like, he kept leaving me notes, so now I'm going to hunt him down and murder him. Is that why?
Or did he murder just to stop him? I mean, nobody in these
now
movies
he's a hero?
Nobody in these movies ever stops these guys, handcuffs them, and then brings in the psych team to figure out what's going on in their noggins. They all die in these movies.
There was a moment earlier in the movie where Daria Nicolodi goes to the detective and he's like, oh, I was going to offer you a drink, but I see you're on duty. And he's like, I only drink when I'm on duty. So, and you think he's making a joke. He says, I'll take a double scotch. So not joking.
I'm not joking.
This is good scotch.
I didn't see any police drinking, but to me, I thought it was very weird to see police officers just openly smoking as they're walking around. That was kind of a weird thing.
Well, number one, it's Italy. They're smoking in the hospital rooms and shit. It's also kind of a sign of the times, though, where it's like there was a time where you'd be in somebody's house and just pull out cigarettes and just start smoking. You wouldn't ask,
Everybody's
hey,
smoking.
do you mind? No, people didn't give a shit. They're like, please.
Restaurants, I smoke anywhere. Why not?
Anywhere. You're in a nursery, children crying, you're lighting up. Yeah, it was a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
I smoke the menthol because it cools the throat.
Oh, God. So he sets about murdering the dude, the killer. Then he kills Johnny because Johnny's starting to get too close. And I guess now it's like, well, I know my ex-girlfriend and my literary agent are banging each other. So now I'm just going to kill them. And he murders the freaking literary agent in a busy square in Rome in front of 50,000 people. How's he get away with that?
That was pretty, and that's where we had the infamous scene where his hat, in fact, did fall off and spin around.
and then spin around. But the most amazing scene is, we've talked about it briefly, the girlfriend is sitting there at the table. Whose house is she at? Who knows? She's at some random house, has a gun in her hand. Where'd she get a gun? Did she pack it in her bag? Perhaps. And she's just sitting there.
Europeans don't tend to have a lot of guns in their houses.
The hatchet comes through the window. Chop, chop. Arm lopped off. Spray, spray, spray. Good grief. And she's painting the walls red.
That was some good armpit and sprain. Yes, yes.
It was like The Substance once again, where it's just a limb goes and then it's just a fire hose of blood splattering the world.
Which we expect in a good Argento film.
Yes.
Or / Quentin Tarantino film.
Absolutely. And then that just becomes a bloodbath. He thinks, and his assistant's walking in the door. And so he stabs her, chops her in the back with the axe, but it's not her. It's the female detective. So she takes the hatchet to the back. So now it's like, we know who the murderer is now. This shit's real.
Right.
Because the bodies are dropping.
Now he's effing up, which is what I was saying, man. Normal people, they care whether they F up and have to go to prison.
Absolutely.
If you're just like some kind of nutball spree killer, I mean, you're not that worried.
And then the most preposterous moment of this movie is where he takes the straight razor and proceeds to slice his own throat while making a crazy face. Ah! He chops it, and they just leave the body. They're like, oh shit, well, that sucks. Let's get out of here. And they walk back in 5 minutes later. He's gone, and there's the straight razor. But of course, it's like a prop straight razor. Heretofore,
like
never before
mentioned. Out of Boys Life magazine, so it squirts out.
Just like you'd order out of Boys Life magazine, because that's what they have. Fake straight razors that squirt blood. Why would he, like, why does he suddenly have, like, is he the Phantom of the Opera with just like a bag of tricks that good thing I brought my fake straight razor with me.
He has one of those very large man satchels with the various tools for murder.
It's like Felix the cat. 100%.
Felix the cat.
So then the cop gets murdered. The male detective takes an axe in the back because he's not paying attention. Because literally he looks around the room. Dude's nowhere to be found. Then he's sitting there going, And then you see the killer just stand up right behind him. Where did he come from?
Yeah, that was a good shot, too.
It was a good shot if you accept that. Was there a trap door that he just jumped out of? Did he crawl out of the cellar? Where the hell did he come from?
I like to think there was, in fact, a trap door.
There must have been. And so there's 3 more bodies on the floor. Anne's trying to come back in because she goes, hey, detective, what's going on in there? And forces the door open. And some bizarre modern art, again, never before referenced, never before seen again, impales the dude. Ah! I was watching this and Becky's trying to sleep behind me, and it's just 5 minutes ago. I eventually turned it down. I was just throwing a shoe at me.
I have to say, I don't think this is the first time we've seen someone killed by modern art in an Argento film.
Well, remember in The Abominable Dr. Fives, there was a guy killed in the with the brass unicorn impales him through the door. So there was that. There is a precedent. But then he's been murdered. So he's screaming because he's been impaled. And then it cuts to Daria Nicolodi out the door, also screaming. So now it's a chorus of just screams. Ah! 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 Credits roll.
Yeah, fade to black.
Fade to black. Good stuff.
Oh. It was very delightful, and I want to mention they had Dobermans. Dobermans were the pit bulls before pit bulls. Remember that? Dobermans were terrifying. I'd recently read an article that the way Dobermans are bred now, because of all that fear, boys from Brazil, the day of the Doberman, there was all these.
The day of the Doberman.
Yeah, that's
was that a movie?
That was
a movie. Making up some shit.
Maybe. First it was Day of the Dolphin, then there was Day of the Doberman.
Gotcha. Okay, fair. So now
they've been bred, so they're like lap dogs now.
Oh, good. Well, that's good.
But do you remember that Heather's dad had Dobermans?
I remember when I was a kid, it was a thing. It was absolutely a thing. Dobermans
that was your guard dog.
100%. Yeah, with like a spike collar or something like that. You're right. Suddenly they don't exist anymore.
You never see them. You never see them.
And it's all pit bulls, like you said.
In Bakersfield, everything is either a pit bull or a chihuahua. I'm waiting for them to cross. where you
What
have
would
a
that be?
chihuahua that just grabs at your nads and can't let go. It just locks.
Sounds delicious. Anywho, any
Magic delicious.
magically delicious. Any last thoughts on Tenebrae?
Did you know Teresa Russell was the dub voice for Daria?
I heard that. The Daria Nicolodi, I mean, she's in all of his shit. And I guess they still had to bring, because that's the weird thing about this movie. And frankly, all of Argento's movies. When they make them for the American audience, very rarely does anybody have an Italian accent. Like the detective has an Italian accent. But like the guys working on the elevator are British for some reason. They all have British accents.
Randomly British.
It's like that's
There's a lot of randomly British people.
Yes, right. Then you're like, because you meet all these characters and they either have American accents or British accents, but they're supposed to be Italian. So who the hell knows? It's okay to have a few accents in there, I guess. I don't know. Makes no sense.
Well, because they're all speaking their own native language. It's not that they have accents.
Correct.
When they film it. So, I mean, you're saying that the dub people should have accents.
Oh, and there were definitely times Anthony Franciosa was like, he like waited just a little, like a beat longer, because the guy's speaking to him and he's just like, I don't know what the you're saying, but I guess you're done delivering your line, so now I'm going to respond. There's a lot of that going on. Anything else?
Yeah. I don't know how you even respond to that. There was one scene with all the fancy hookers. I
for
thought
no
that was
reason.
very interesting.
For no reason.
For no reason, except for some cat calls. But I thought they were dressed very nicely. Usually when I see them when I drive to work, they're looking a little rough. These ladies were dressed for the disco.
It's not Julia Roberts, is what you're saying, on the side of the road in Bakersfield?
I hate Julia Roberts.
Oh, shit. Shots fired. Anything else? Any other notes?
That's it? Nah, that's close enough.
Let's go behind the scenes, shall we?
Oh, I have one more thing to say. There's a remarkable number of... Oh, no, I forgot what I was going to say. Talk.
A remarkable number of... Okay,
behind the scenes. I had it. I lost it. I'm having you continue.
The impressive 2.5-minute crane shot that encircles Tilda's house took 3 days to be completed. American distributors wanted the shot to be cut from the film for U.S. release, but Argento refused. Boom.
I say no!
Right, because again, Tilda's not that important of a character that they're doing like a 20-minute, the camera's circling the house and going through the window, and then she's dead 5 minutes later, and it's like, okay, who cares?
There was a lot of weird crap, like, I hear someone in my house. I'm going to take off my shirt and investigate.
Which is what people do. You said...
Wait, what is that?
Hang on. Got to get this shirt off first. The word tenebrae is a Latin Italian term meaning darkness or shadows, as you said. Look at that. Reportedly inspired after director Dario Argento was stalked by a fan.
Oh, yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah, it's real. Director Dario Argento called star Anthony Franciosa one of the most difficult actors he's ever worked with.
Tell me more.
That's all I have.
Because
he's a pain in the ass. Why? He's Italian?
Damn it. I wanted to hear a story. Such as he got so angry he threw the script down, took out his dick and peed on it.
Yes, 100%. Christopher Walken was considered for the lead role.
Oh my God.
That.
I wish that would have come true. Wait, it's not too late. Christopher Walken, still alive. Dario Argento, still alive. Some of the members of Goblin, still alive.
Anthony Franciosa, not still alive. John
Not so
Saxon,
much.
not alive. Unused music from Goblin's Dawn of the Dead score plays in the background of scene where Tilda and her girlfriend argue. So there you go.
Perfect. Recycling.
Let's see. The girl with the red shoes in the flashback was played by a transgender actor.
Woo. That's interesting.
That was pretty
That is a shock.
She's gorgeous. She was a gorgeous lady. So good on her.
Interesting.
Yep. Let's see.
So then, but if she wasn't portraying a
No, she wasn't.
transgender, okay,
Was not.
continue
Just
on.
let's see. In the film, the lesbian journalist Tilda harshly criticizes Peter's work. Women are victims.
Why do we know she's a lesbian?
Because she has a lesbian lover, and they argue in the.
Oh, that's
the
right. I
shaping.
thought it was her sister or her roommate this whole
No,
time.
you keep thinking that. Well, they're very close friends. I think is what lifelong friends. Her criticisms are women as victims, ciphers, male heroes, and macho bullshit. These are all actual comments from film critics have made about the supposed misogyny in Argento's work. So there you go.
Yep.
Well-known Italian giallo and horror directors Michele Soavi and Lamberto Bava both appear in this film. Just in the background.
Shit! Where was Bava?
Lamberto Bava, I think he was one of the elevator repair people, if I'm remembering correctly.
Damn it!
Yeah, it's like Sleepwalkers with all these, all these.
But let me tell you one thing: this is not like Sleepwalkers. This is so much better than Sleepwalkers.
Yeah, you're telling me. The film ends with a non-stop screaming of Dario Nicolodi's traumatized character. The original idea in the script was for a single short scream. Nicolodi decided that's it. She decided to channel the frustrations of her personal and professional life into a prolonged scream. Argento was surprised, but he decided to keep that genuine scream in the film.
All right.
There you go. Let's see. The distant flashbacks that take place in the Rhode Island beach are a tribute to American mystery film Suddenly Last Summer. So there you go. Did you ever see that with Elizabeth Taylor?
No.
Ava Robin's white clothes in the flashback scenes are reportedly based on Elizabeth Taylor's white clothes in that film. So there you go.
Okay, if only Elizabeth Taylor was in this film, then.
If only. Daria Nicolodi was reportedly reluctant to have an acting role in Tenebrae. She had had a previous romantic relationship and working partnership with Dario Argento, but had vehemently argued over the writing credits in Suspiria. So she felt like she had made a writing contribution to Suspiria and did not get her just desserts.
And that misogynist, yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, is she Aja's mother?
She is. She's Aja's mother.
They were together for a very long time.
They were. This was like by the end of their relationship, though. Let's look at the cast and crew, shall we? Let's see. Dario Argento is the writer, director, producer, the whole shebang. You know him for Deep Red, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Phenomena, Tenebrae. He was still doing stuff well into the 80s.
Dude, we just watched one of his new movies like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
He's still rolling.
He's still doing his thing, but into the 80s, we still cared, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, how dare you.
And
we'll watch his next one. I'm just going to put that out there. Christopher Walken.
Anthony Franciosa played Peter Neal. You know him from such things as Tenebrae, A Hatful of Rain in 1957. He was in 1996 City Hall. That's a John Cusack movie. And
unfamiliar.
1957, he was in A Face in the Crowd. You know that one. These are all popular things that he did.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to look for people that we might know. John Saxon.
John Saxon. He was in The $6 Million Man. At least for one episode.
John Saxon played Bulmer, which is, I don't think that's a real name, but okay. He was the literary agent. You know him from A Nightmare on Elm Street in 1984. Yeah. Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee in 1973. Black Christmas in 1974.
Yeah.
A New Nightmare playing himself in 1994.
He was playing John Saxon?
It was kind of a meta film where the actors from the original Nightmare on Elm Street came back to discuss, and weird shit starts happening.
You know, every time you say meta now, all I'm going to think about is what's his name at the inauguration.
MetaQuest. Daria
Uh-huh.
Nicolodi played Anne, who I think she's supposed to be American. Don't you think in this movie?
No, is
Anyway,
she?
who's
I
to
did
say?
not get that impression.
Well, she had no accent, so her name was Anne.
Yeah.
She was in Phenomena playing Frau Bruckner in 1985.
Not Frau Brucker?
Nope. She was in Deep Red, Tenebrae, and something called Property is No Longer a Theft, which seems like a poor translation.
It does. I bet it was called something else, somewhere else.
It probably means something in Italian. Let's look at the rating, shall we?
Let's.
Tenebrae currently has 81% on Rotten Tomatoes. Boom. Do you know what the audience gave it?
89%.
78%.
Oh.
So pretty close.
Then how do they call themselves fans?
Maybe they don't. There's only 2 top critics here, and I haven't heard of either one of them, but I'm going to read them. Jeff Andrew from Time Out says, unpleasant even by contemporary horror standards.
Shut your mouth, boy.
Hard disagree. Ed Gonzalez of Slant Magazine says, Tenebrae is a brilliant piece of self-reflexive cinema. 4 out of 4. Boom.
Self-reflexive.
When you reflect upon yourself. It's meta.
I thought you said self-reflexive.
That's what I said.
Is that the same thing as self-reflective?
Maybe. It reflects. The reflex is a lonely child just waiting by the park. Anyway, what is your rating, Aaron, for Tenebrae?
Dude, I'm just going to give it 3.5 warm hugs to Dario Argento, as one does.
As one does.
Pay to Caesar what is Caesar's.
Absolutely. As they say in Rome to this day. I would say that's probably about right. I'd be a 3.75. This is one of my, now I haven't seen all of his work, but I would probably reach for Tenebrae more than maybe some other things that I've seen lately. So good on Tenebrae. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Check it out. It's got that good. Go ahead.
Suspiria is still my favorite. Not
Deep
the
Red,
reimagining.
Deep Red may be my favorite, but I think maybe that's the difference. Tenebrae does not have a lot of scary moments to me. I'm not like afraid of anything that's happening in it. Whereas Deep Red had unsettling moments in it. So I would say Deep Red's probably not my number one, but Tenebrae's up there. So there you go.
I enjoy Deep Red nonetheless.
Any other thoughts and feelings about Tenebrae?
I only wish I could wear big dark sunglasses. That was my plan for this review, but I forgot.
It happens.
It was a thing. All the men were wearing like Foster Grants, like MacArthur glasses, and all the women had the nice giant dark sunglasses.
That's how they do it. They're very fashionable.
Mm-hmm. Very fashionable.
Anywho, thank you very much. We are across social media. We're on Blue Sky. We're on Threads. We're on Insta. Aaron, are we still on TikTok these days?
We're on TikTok. I'm about ready. I ditched X. I'm on my way to give Threads the boot. So Blue Sky, maybe? I don't know.
Who's to say?
I don't know if I have the attention span. But we're back on the TikTok.
TikTokaroonie.
Trump, who started the whole thing about banning TikTok, is now the one who's going to save TikTok.
Of course,
fascinating. But quite frankly, I think they should kick it off because it is like smoking crack.
It is
I would
crack.
imagine.
It is. So crack. I've heard. So we're also on YouTube. So you might be watching us right now, our beautiful smiling faces. So we are. You can also email us, the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review. Won't you?
Won't you please?
Aaron, what is your social media situation?
I got some art on Artsy and First Dibs. Aaron Doherty, check it out. Otherwise, I'm on the gram. I am the cult of Aaron. Join the cult.
Boom! As you know, we like to include the thoughts and feelings of our fans across the social media landscape. Aaron,
Oh,
what you
God
got?
damn it.
This
Well,
is time for improv. What do you
it's
got?
time for well, during the great blackout of TikTok, some of our more interesting European fans wrote in begging us to record the Japanese classic House, and that's what we're gonna do, kids.
That's a
Yay!
bit of a spoiler alert. My word! Yes, we're not talking about the William Catt film, which we've already
No.
discussed. Although you should go back and listen because it's a damn hoot. It is
A
good
hoot and a
times.
holler.
That's the one where we talk about Ruby Don't Take Your Love to Town and Coward of the County.
Oh, God.
So,
No, this
again,
is something that rolled up on my TikTok and looked absolutely Japanese frightening. So I don't know anything about it. I've done zero research, but
people have suggested we watch it. So it's 1977's House. It's a Japanese film. And if you're interested, you can watch it on Max. Max.
I
Or
love not spending $4.
that's good stuff. Or if you're a member of the Criterion channel, you can also watch it there. So check out House. If you see the guy from Greatest American Hero, it's the wrong house.
It is
It's a different
not to be
house.
confused.
It's a different house. So check that out. Send in any favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may talk about it on the show. So, thank you very much, and be well!
Be well, my friends.